Let's check out the Leaning Tower of Manhattan.
Manhattan that has there's a half-built 60-story skyscraper in Lower Manhattan that has a slew of drama surrounding it since construction started back in 2016. And as a result of this mess, we have a massive skyscraper along East River in the financial district that is just sitting there, half-built, collecting dust. The issues here start with your standard construction delays with tons of city citations, but then things took a darker turn when a construction worker fell from the 29th floor of the tower after not being properly harnessed in. And to top everything off, the lead contractor ended up walking from this job last year altogether after verifying that the building is actually leaning 3 inches to the north, so he wouldn't be able to safely proceed with the build. It should kind of go without saying that a skyscraper of this size that's starting to lean is no joke. Some of you guys probably have heard of the issues going on at Millennium Tower in San Francisco that's been sinking and tilting for years, which has caused panic and hundreds of millions of dollars in damage. Let's dive into this mess of a story surrounding this luxury skyscraper in Manhattan. So the subject of today's video is located at 161 Maiden Lane. Is also known as One Seaport, and you can see here on the map that it's sitting in a pretty unique location just outside of the financial district, but right on the East River. So the units here, if they do ever end up getting finished, are going to have some amazing unobstructed views to the south and the east. They're definitely milking the location and the marketing materials. They call the building a modern lighthouse and the first all-glass residential tower in Seaport, Manhattan's oldest neighborhood. The skyscraper currently stands 670 feet tall and is built out of reinforced concrete. And they are set up to have 99 units inside with 200,000 square feet of total livable space. It sounds like it'll be a pretty nice place to live if somehow this tower does get finished one day. They plan for a really luxurious drive-up entrance. Once you get inside, there's a 2-story lobby. It's got a huge Calcutta gold marble concierge desk, and then the second level of the lobby has a double-sided fireplace and a terrace. Past the entrance, there are supposed to be several amenity floors, one on floor 13 that has a swimming pool. Then when you move up to the 30th floor, you've got a spa with a sauna and a steam room. And then check it out from this view, the spa area is supposed to also have a terrace with some loungers outside, which is pretty awesome. Then zooming down to the 6th floor, we've got, of course, the gym. This is set up to have equipment looking out right over the river. Wouldn't be a bad place to work out. The condos here at One Seaport were supposed to start at $1.2 million, and then they would go all the way up to $18 million for the penthouse units, but this was all before the tower started to lean in 2020. The timeline of
all before the tower started to lean to the left a little bit.
of this development can be summed up with just a few key dates.
Recordings just got better. Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce that local recordings are now available on StreamYard. Have you ever done a
Lot prep started back in 2015, which is when the developers worked on the grading and the foundation that this skyscraper would eventually stand on. April of 2018 was actually the original scheduled completion date, which at that time they were nowhere near completion. The building topped out in October of 2018, and topping out is when a building in construction has officially reached its full height. Plus, this is right around the time when the developers were actually pre-selling some of the units in this tower and contracts were actually getting signed. This is pretty common practice for developers to pre-sell units and skyscrapers like this before the construction is actually finished. One of the people who was under contract to buy here signed her deal in October for her $4.6 million condo in One Seaport. She said when she took a hard hat tour of the construction site, she fell in love because the views were insane. In early 2019, things really took a turn for the worse because reports started to surface that the tower was starting to lean 3 inches to the north. This is why regulation is so important, because shit like this happens and they didn't finish the project, you know. So when people are always arguing like, oh, the government just always gets in the way, like, well, not always, you know, because if there was nothing, if there were no real consequences in the way, motherfuckers would just finish building that. You know, you would have had to hope that the person making the building was of good integrity, and you know, you just never know. So yeah. Obviously a huge red flag to everybody involved, from the developer to the lead contractor to the biggest lender on the deal to all of those buyers who signed contracts. Even with the building leaning, construction continued at One Seaport until around October of 2020. This is when it went under stop work orders and construction came to a screeching halt. The developer of this project is called Fortis Property Group, and they have definitely been in the hot seat since all of this started to unfold. Remember, the developer's job in a real estate deal is to find a plot of land and then assemble a team of contractor, architect, and designer to build something awesome on that land. But at the end of the day, the developer is the owner of that project and ultimately holds some responsibility for everything that happens on that project. Fortis allegedly took care of the lot prep step back in 2015 before they brought on the lead contractor, Pizzarati. So Fortis and Pizzarati have been pointing fingers at each other over who is responsible for the tower leaning for years now. A lot of sources consider both of these parties to blame because Fortis did try to cut costs on this building wherever possible, and then the contractor Pizzarati chose to hire non-union workers, which could have exaggerated problems that already existed here. It's hard to pinpoint exactly why this tower is leaning at this stage in the game. There's ongoing investigations there, but something tells me that it has something to do with the way that the foundation was built. We know for sure here that piles were not driven into the bedrock below this building, which is very similar to what caused the issues happening at Millennium Tower in San Francisco. See, most people consider the best way to make sure a skyscraper stands straight and strong is by drilling massive end-bearing piles into the bedrock under the building, especially when you don't have confidence in the soil that's under that tower. One Seaport is sitting on a lot that I would consider to be a little bit sketchy, and I think that you guys will agree with me here. See, some people don't realize this, but Manhattan is actually bigger than it was before it was originally developed. The city has done some expansions by land reclamation that's basically just given room for more roads and development in Manhattan. And guess what? One Seaport was built right on one of these man-made land reclamation areas, which to me is even more reason that they should have driven those piles all the way down into the bedrock. I know we're getting a little bit technical here, and I'm not an engineer, so I'm probably not explaining it the best way that I can be. I think that you guys get the point. If you're building a skyscraper, or if you're building anything for that matter, you need to start with a strong foundation. On top of the fact that One Seaport is leaning and the city has ordered construction to stop there, back in September of 2017, a construction worker named Juan Chanillo fell from the 29th floor of the construction site, and sadly, he did not survive.
A construction worker fell 27 stories to his death while on the job in Lower Manhattan. Authorities say it happened on Maiden Lane, not far from the South Street Seaport, around 9 o'clock this morning.
This later led to the cement shop SSC pleading guilty to manslaughter charges since Chanillo was one of his employees. It's one thing after another that led this project to be wound up in such a mess, and this is why it's basically just sitting there now at this point collecting dust. After the original contractor Pizzarati left the One Seaport job and got into a bunch of legal battles with the developer, a new contractor called Ray Builders came on to pick up the slack. But it didn't take long before Ray Builders also left the job, saying that Fortis owed them $6.8 million and that they were never paid.
Even with the building not being done, because I live in Jersey, I live in Hackensack, which is like 15 minutes from the George Washington Bridge, and a whole lot of places from Jersey coming into the city. You can see this building, and it actually is very beautiful. Like just in terms of like an eye attracting building, like it's lined with mirror glass, but I wasn't, until I came across this randomly, I wasn't aware that it was leaning like that. But again, the issues of what are you gonna, what are you gonna do about it? You're gonna demolish the building, because if you don't fix the foundation and make the building, straight and secure, then ultimately they're gonna have to tear it down, or it's just gonna sit there. So, but again, this is the importance of not just obviously doing shit the right way. This is the importance of regulation. Because if there wasn't proper regulation in place, then, stuff like this would happen more often in terms of people just finishing projects. And yeah, go ahead and move in. The building, it's sinking into the ground, and, it's leaning to the left a little bit, but, if it, it's not going to collapse, though. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I mean, if they don't fix it, if nobody has the resources or is willing to put forth the capital to fix this project, which I'm no engineer or I don't work in construction, so I don't even begin to know where the hell how they would, fix this situation. But if they can't fix it, then yeah, they're gonna have to demolish it because that's good property that building's built on. So somebody gonna be like, look, either y'all fix this or y'all need to get the fuck up out the way because I want that. You feel me? So yeah, and especially with it being Manhattan, they're not gonna leave that shit sitting around. Then again, it's like I said, I could see that building. I've seen that building many times. Pretty much every time I'm anywhere close, and it's great. It's great real estate. So, if somebody don't fix that shit in the next few years, yeah, they'll knock it down and build something else there for sure. All right, let's finish this video out. It's like a minute left.
With these mounting legal battles happening, including the lender threatening to foreclose on a $120 million loan, the court put a receiver in place and approved another company called Engel Burnham Construction to take over once the whole leaning thing is sorted out. Out of the 99 apartment units that were supposed to be sold here, most of them actually had contracts as of just a few years back. But as of the last report, nearly every single one of those buyers have since backed out of their contracts, which puts this whole thing into an even deeper financial bind. I personally hope that this all gets resolved and they figure out a fix because it does look like it's going to be an awesome skyscraper when it's done. Hill West Architects is behind the architecture here, and as you guys have seen in the video footage throughout today's episode, they did an awesome job with the architecture. And speaking of all that drone footage, I want to give a shout out here to a subscriber named John. He actually cruised down to one seaport for me to grab all of that footage. I'll link to his Instagram down below. He goes by JV Drone. You guys should check it out. He does some awesome real estate drone work. I hope that you guys.
All right. But yeah, I thought that caught my eye the other day. I was like, damn. That's a good that like I said, that's a nice looking building, but if they don't get that shit fixed, then they're gonna have to demolish it.